somehow that you won't win, and that's why I'm here. Here we go. I sold my soul to the devil in a bid to try and get you back. But I knew somehow that you won't win, and that's why I'm here. Here we go. And I want to tell you something, something you may want to hear. But I think I know how you feel, so just turn away. Rather than I want to tell you something, something you may want to hear. But I think I know how you feel, so just turn away. Rather than everything we do, everything we want to, everything we do, everything we got to, everything we know, everything we go. Come on, everybody get up. Everybody wanna get up, everybody wanna get
When you say the words racing and Belgium, I bet you there's one track that nearly every race fan brings to their lips. And it's probably unfortunate for every other racetrack in the country besides Spa that it's not them. It's especially unfair considering here in Zolder, Formula One called this place home for a number of years. Including having the ignominy of being the scene of Gilles Villeneuve's death, it's safe to say that today's host plays something of the black sheep role in Belgian motorsports. Well, we're going to give it some love, vintage racing style, as we get ready to watch round 2 of the iRacing Kamel GT series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Young. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Adam, Zolder has its fair share of chicanes, but there's plenty more to this track, so why don't you tell us about it?
Well, you know, of course, you brought up the fact that Gilles Villeneuve, of course, passed away here. And, well, that was the last year that Formula One was here, like, on pretty much a yearly basis. They went to Spa for the next year, and then, well, came back one more year, and then that was it. And since then, well, lots of sports car racing has gone on here. A few European open wheel series have come and gone. But, of course, you got to deal with that competition from that track that's about an hour and a half drive to the south of Zolder. And, of course, you mentioned Spa as well. But Spa Supra in the configuration that we're running here, or excuse me, Zolder in the configuration that we're running here for today, see what I did there, is on the Grand Prix layout. That's going to be the 10-turn layout. We're going to be running 2.492 miles here for today, 4.011 kilometers for our European folks. So with that, let's go ahead, jump in the Audi, and take a lap around Circuit Zolder.
Alright, we're in the GSRC Audi, so let's do a lap around Zolder. Heading down into Erst, watch out for the drop in elevation. It'll make it pretty easy to come into the apex too hot. So many drivers find themselves understeering into the gravel. Get it back across the track quickly, and then whoa it up for Stuttervaart. It'll be tempting to let it hug the inside, but it's better to let the car drift out a bit and then lift so that you can really power through Canal. You're going to need the whole track on entry and exit of this second apex. From there, you'll quickly brake for Bianchi, which is one of the more critical corners on the track. Definitely get back to the power as soon as you can, because it takes you on one of the fastest straights on the circuit. Now, even though the Kleine chicane makes for a good passing opportunity, it's very risky to try and navigate it too wide. If someone outbrakes you, try setting them up for an over-under move coming out of here. Over the crest, bring it off to the right, and then as you turn into Butte, you'll start to lift and ease onto the brakes. The car tends to be off balance as you slow it down for Turleman, so it takes a bit of finesse. Try to stay close to the apexes so that you've got the widest line into the third one. Off the corner, you'll get a little squirt of the gas before another big lift is needed. The camber here will help you, but you still need patience before slamming down that right foot. The sharp hairpin of Boulderberg-Hausfeld can often provide good opportunities for overtakes, so keep your wits about you. Watch out for the tiny chink in the road that's barely a corner, but they've named it Rent anyways after the posthumous champion. Finally, we approach Ix. You may have noticed the big white sausage curves at the inside of these chicanes, and you can hit them a little harder than you can in most cars, but don't get too greedy because they can still cause quite a bit of damage. As you accelerate back to the line, hopefully you've now finished a lap around Zolder.
with 25 points for the win, down to a single point for 20th place. Much smaller field that we have here today compared to last week at Suzuka. However, I'm not sure that it'll be any less chaotic. We saw quite a bit of action back in Japan that put a few drivers out. So as we take a glance at the qualifying, right now Fabian Gerber leads the way up in the GTPs, and Nick Mukanos leads the way in the GTOs. But the thing that I've really got my eye on in this is how they are going to interact between the two classes on what doesn't have that many long straights, Adam.
No, it really doesn't. I mean, you're not going to have a lot of opportunities for drafting. In fact, glancing at the weather here for today, winds out of the southeast about 5 miles per hour. So you're not going to be looking at a big headwind or a big tailwind everywhere to either aid or prohibit drafting. So that's going to be a factor. So these Nissans are really going to have to work to get around the Audis. And of course, you're going to be finding a lot of those opportunities on the entries to the chicanes. But Joe, those chicanes, they're dangerous. People are going to have to really mind their P's and Q's through there because, well, as we've seen in many race series here, that's going to be where a lot of accidents are going to happen. And you also, as we discussed when I was doing my own testing earlier on, we have to watch out for the sausage curbs that are just about everywhere because they will hurt these Nissans. In fact, even seeing some Audis out there in qualifying, running around with quite a bit of damage from the sausage curbs. So that's going to be something to watch out for here, but that's going to make getting around other cars that much more difficult because there isn't a whole lot of room for error.
Yeah, those curbs are incredibly tall. There's very few cars, I think, in the iRacing service that can handle clattering over them. So should see some damaged cars, and not necessarily due to contact with one another, though that will happen plenty as well. As we watch some of our drivers work their way around. I believe this is Lino Luoto coming up to the Boulder hairpin, and he's probably got both of his laps in. No, he does not, actually. This is his second lap. This is timed. He's currently sitting in 8th, which is farther down than we're used to for Topani. So coming up to this final chicane, X. Very fiddly, small chicane, but it opens up a little bit on the second half onto the front stretch. Let's see if he can improve on this 1:18.502. No, he does not. A 1:18.7. That'll definitely not get him any higher. It's going to be a long day for Topani out there. Let's see if there's anybody else yet to get a time in as the clock ticks down. Looks like Ove hasn't done a single lap. So down in the GTO class, one of our drivers typically up on the front row could start at the very back.
Yeah, but he's on a tear right now. He's actually coming to the line right now. We'll see what he puts down. And 1:29. Yeah, you put him, see.
7th in class, it looks like.
Yeah, 7th in class. Apparently, I can't count today. I'm slow on counting. This is going to be fun.
Now, he's still got another lap. Oh, but he's abandoning it. Wow. I would think that he would want a little bit more than that. Maybe he just does not think he has time, which could be the case. And he's honestly the last one out there now.
And I'll say that, in a handful of races over the last couple of years that I've been able to call for this series, Ove likes these tight tracks where they really have to put the tower down outside of chicane. So the fact that he's going to settle for 7th, I'm actually really kind of surprised by that.
Apologies for a bit of technical glitches here. Getting picture back now, and we'll have picture back soon. Thankfully, you're not really missing anything. This is just the end of qualifying, and there's no cars out on track right now. We'll wait a bit to go through the grid since we got a full pace lap around here. We've got plenty of time to wait for that to happen. So we talked about how the chicanes are a problem. We talked about how the traffic could be a problem. Thankfully, they don't have to do any scheduled pit stops, so this weird pit entry won't be an issue. What else, with your time out in the Nissan, are you really watching here, Adam?
Well, we talked already about the chicanes, but there is one factor about the chicanes too that we haven't talked about, and it goes back to the Nissan, is that turbo. When it kicks in, you're going so slow that when that turbo kicks in, you've got to keep the back end from snapping around, and even the best will sometimes get caught out by that. So that's going to be something to watch out, particularly in the slow speed chicanes. The Audis, They don't have that problem as much. They're probably going to be more oversteering on the outside of those chicanes when they try to put the power down. But still, if you're going to have an oversteery Nissan followed by an understeery Audi, especially in multi-class type passing situation, that could be a recipe for disaster for some people.
Well, disaster and this track tend to go together, it seems, from our past experience. As we get our picture back, thankfully, there we see them gridded up. So I believe we might be ready for the grid. Just double checking to see if we can bring that up. All right, let's get the grid up on the, there we go. As it looks like we're just having a few more technical issues, but I can read them out verbally. Fabian Gerber is on the pole with Mark Pickford starting in second. Ardo Iamaki will be P3. Tobias Gerber starts in fourth with Antti Lepisto in fifth, and Timu Tuika starts P6. Then in row 4, we've got Michael Houghton in seventh, Tapani Lindeluoto in eighth, Pablo Suarez in ninth, and John Keefe rounds out our top 10. Pretty big field in the GTPs, we should point out. Luis Emerton starts 11th with Sean Wiltshire in 12th. James King begins this race in P13, Clayton McLeod 14th, and Ben Lafter in 15th position. Matt Orr will start in 16th, Martin Krejcik 17th, then he'll be followed in P18 by David Miller, and Johnny Bell rounds out our GTP field.
Yeah, going over to those Audis, Bill Rula will start on the pole for the Audis. Jamie Hill's out there. Rob Olenchek is starting on the inside of row 2 for the Audis. Nicholas McConis alongside him. Riley Thompson, Andrea Albertinelli will be starting next. And then Ove Trengery, who we mentioned, kind of a disappointing qualifying effort for him, but, you know, look for him to try to move up. Franco Scuri starting alongside him. Hresto Ublev, Reed Miller, Iskren Pondev out there in Milan Ronzi, and apologies if I'm mispronouncing the name, followed by Brian Shanahan, Hideki Koivisto, Cedric Poyle, and Thomas Delmuth. And that'll round out your Audi field.
I can help you with Milan. It's Arnozzi is his last name.
Arnozzi. Okay,
Yeah,
that is
sorry.
a lot simpler to pronounce than what I thought. So,
Yeah, it's a confusing looking one.
for the record, I substitute taught for a little while, and I was always the substitute teacher that was made famous for butchering kids' names. So there you go.
And I can tell you as well, I know Rob's looks really crazy, but it's Olenek is what he goes by. So just Rob Olenek, and he's obviously been a big help in this series of a stalwart in the Kamel GT. As you see them now come their way towards the Boulder hairpin, which I'm very grateful for Sean Ambrose some months ago, alerting me that Bergharspeld just means hairpin, so I didn't need to be pronouncing that all these years, and Boulder is so much easier to just say that way.
Well, anytime you can simplify things, won't be any complaints from me.
Absolutely. So we've got Pickford on the front row. Not used to seeing him that high up. He's not had a good couple races. He came out for the Kamel GT 500, had some trouble there at Suzuka last week. Seems like he's got some one-lap pace. Does he have race pace? That's the question. As right now, Fabian Gerber is going to be leading them down the way. Green flag is out, and Fabian Gerber gets a very good shot. Mark Pickford, oh, we got a car on the wall, and with our GTP cars, that is Tobias Gerber. Thankfully, nobody gets into him, but let's go to our GTOs.
Yeah, Bill Rula gets a big jump on the rest of the field. He's taking him across the line now, followed closely by Rob Olenek. He is back there going into turn 1. He's going to get a good look into the inside. There is that damaged Nissan on the inside. That's the car that you see. Bill Rula, though, continue and control that field as they go single file through the first couple of corners.
Already, the Nissans are heading towards the first chicane, which is a big danger zone in this first lap. We do have one car incident. Ben Lafter getting into it a little bit with James King. They actually touch a little bit again. Already, we've got the leaders working their way through the Turleman chicane now.
Ooh, James King very close to getting onto the back there of car number 30, Martin Krejcik. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that name as well, but they are all able to get away there. A little bit of separation now for those guys.
Yeah, finally getting themselves sorted out. So not too bad there, other than the one car at the start and at the GTPs. So we now are completing the first lap already as Fabian Gerber crosses the line. We're watching Krejcik continue to try to keep these guys back out of the X chicane and successfully ahead of them, staying in that 13th position for now. Let's take a glance at how the first lap has gone for the Audis, though, jumping back to Rolla leading the way.
Yeah, and of course the Audis, for the most part here, have been single file. Just a handful of passes in for position early on in this race. Already starting to see some cars with some damage front end. One battle, though, to pay attention to is Andrea Albernelli. And looks like possibly teammates there with Franco Scurry. They almost get into each other going through turn one. And Franco Scurry is going to take the position there from Andrea.
Yeah, Franco's been getting some speed lately. We saw him performing well since a little bit of an absence. Now we've got Brian Shanahan on the back of Albertinelli at the moment, actually making a three-car battle because that's Milan Arnozzi and the Purple Machine trying to close in. We're riding on board with Shanahan, who's sizing up Andrea, and nothing doing down into the decline of chicane.
And that is the highest position battle for position. Actually, I take that back. Nicholas McConis here having a big run on Riley Thompson. Not able to do anything with it going through that first big chicane. Well, the second big chicane there, that would be the Turlemock. Am I saying that right? Turlemock.
Turleman is
Turleman. Okay.
Box just means corner, so you can drop that.
Corner. That's right. That's right. Wow.
But boy, Riley Thompson, oh man, missed shift for Mukanos there we saw on screen, and Ove Trangerade had to check up big time. Oh, and what, is that a missed shift for Thompson as well?
Riley Thompson, listening to his engine note, it almost sounds like he just got off the gas. It wasn't a missed shift or anything else. Maybe a problem with his pedals he had to quickly try to figure out, and that really jammed things up going through the Jackie Ickbach, and everybody's able to get away, but that got tense for a moment.
Really did. Back up in fourth place. We got a little bit of battle going on between Lepisto and Houghton. This is in the GTP class. So you see Lepisto, he's running in the white and black car. Houghton in the red and white machine, the Nissan Nismo car just there behind. Don't forget, Fat Tebow's back there. I'd like to see whether or not his endless fans are in the chat today. We'll find out a little bit later, but right now, Timu running down the order in 6th, not as high as we've seen in previous races.
Trying to find another tight battle for everybody here real quick, and everybody seems like they're going pretty much single file here so far, but hearing P4 heating back up, they're still spread out quite a bit.
Yep, but wow, it's Mukanos leading a train of cars, as you point out. That's Trangerade behind him, Thompson back there, then it's Ublev, and Scurry is the first one that's a bit of a gap behind them.
Yeah, and we go back just a little bit more than that. Brian Shanahan back there, really trying to hold off Arnozzi, and able to do it here as they start rolling through Jackie Ickbach, head down the front straightaway. But Brian Shanahan has his hands full right now back there with Milan.
Look at the run that he's got down the front stretch. He sticks his nose into the inside of Ersta. Does he got it? Yes, he does. And coming down to Studenbach, looks like he's going to be solidly now into 11th place. Nice run by Milan.
Yeah, now we'll see if he's able to run away for a little bit here. It seems to be some of the trouble those guys have been having is catching. It's the old thing. Catching somebody is one thing, passing them is a totally another. And apparently here at Zolder today, it's also going to be running away from them after he passes them is going to be another thing. Is the Audis punching enough of a hole in the air that going down some of the straights here, they're able to hang tight with each other. Hearing possibly going up to P6.
Yep, looks like John Keefe has Timu Toika all over him, and I think John just took that away from Timu, because just a moment ago I was talking about Timu being in 6. Now, Luis Emerton also giving a watch, who catches a little bit too much curb, and now he's going to lose his spot as we ride on board with Timu behind him. The action is with Tapani Lindaluoto working the long way around Emerton into the Kleine chicane, and somehow they get through there okay.
Yeah, Luis played that smart, decided he's going to go ahead and try to get him back here in a minute, but that allows Clayton McLeod to really get up in the mix there in his Nissan. He's going to take a look at the outside of the chicane, They tried doing up and under. Oh, road! I think 2 cars ran over the sausage curbs right there. I don't see any damage on them, but you don't want to do that too many times. But Clayton McLeod is there. He's going to be looking to try to get around Lotus right here.
Well, no visible damage on the outside of the car.
Oh, Pablo has to back out of it in order to avoid Clayton McLeod when he backed out of that chicane. And Pablo Suarez, that could have been a lot worse for those guys right there.
What I was saying before is even though we can't see any damage, the under tray of that car is what you got to worry about after going over that. I think we might want to go to the leader because he's starting to catch Audi traffic. Fabian Gerber now slicing his way through the GTO field. This is where it starts to get tense. Mercifully for him, Adam, he's catching the first few very, very spread apart.
They are. But it's going to be before too long that he starts catching that Arnazi, Pondev, and Shanahan battle that we were talking about. He might only have like a lap or two before that happens, but he's got to get around Hideki Gufisto here. And I think he's going to catch Hideki in a favorable position to be able to get around him. So he might not have too much trouble up until he catches that battle.
Yep, looks like down into the hairpin, going to be easy out-braking maneuver for Gerber around Koivisto. And that's one thing we should point out is the lap time difference. It's about minute 17 for the fast guys and the GTPs, but it's a minute 27 for the fast guys and the GTO. So a whole 10 seconds a lap faster is how quickly you come up upon the slower class.
Yeah, and if I had to guess right now, I'm going to be thinking that Fabian Gerber is going to be getting onto the back of Brian Shanahan, possibly by the time they get over to Lucien and maybe even Klein. Actually, he's right there already. I'm underestimating that. They still have to catch him. I think I actually slowed him along a little bit on corner exit.
On board right now with Ove Trangrade giving chase to Riley Thompson. Trangrade running that cool new paint scheme that he's sharing with Rob Olenek. Right now can't do anything with the rear of that black, white, and red machine of the number 19, just stalking him around the laps.
All right, now your leader is caught up to a battle here. Fabian Gerber right on the back of Andrea Albernelli, and he's in their fight with Reed Miller. Andrea lets the leader go by, gives up the battle here for the time being. But Fabian Gerber is in the midst of GTO traffic, and he's in the midst of several battles.
And just before he hit this, it was about 3.5 seconds between himself and Iamaki. Now, Iamaki's got to go through this too, but already he's closed that down to 2.5 seconds. The traffic can change because Iamaki could catch it at a much nicer place than Gerber is. Gerber, though, getting a good opportunity to slip by the car of Scurry, and I think he's going to get Ublev before Ersta.
Yeah, and I was thinking there, Scurry might try to take advantage of that pass by your leader, Fabian Gerber, on Hristo Ublev, but he let him go. But that battle right there going through turn 2 was, thought it was going to tighten up a little bit. But that's just in time for our two Iamaki to try to get through these guys as well. He seems to be having a little bit better luck cutting through the traffic. You mentioned that there, Joe, but did get slowed down a little bit there on the exit of Lucien.
Yeah, he did a lot. It's actually back up to 4 seconds now between himself
Rob
and Gerber.
Olenek is off the track. He's coming right back on in front of our two.
And that was a self-made error going back and looking at it. So a spin through the Kleine chicane for Olenek sets him backwards down to 6th. Let's take a look at the replay.
Getting that GSRC play machine fired up.
So there's just the tail end of it. So we step backwards just a little bit farther. Let's see, did he take too much curb maybe? Oh, a lot. Yeah. Oh my goodness. That car was up in the air.
Wow. I keep talking about the front end damage those sausage curbs can do, but it's been a while since I've seen them launch the rear end like that. That was... These cars don't have a lot of traction. You don't have any.
Sorry, John Keefe has a big issue in the final chicane, X, and that was actually with the Milan Arnozzi. So lap traffic already causing some headaches. Wow, down to 15th for John Keefe. We're going to take a look at the replay. Almost looks like John maybe squeezed him a little bit as he tried to come back to the racing line. Or no, from that angle, it almost looked like Milan turned into him a little. Hard to tell. Kind of a toss-up from that just one angle that we just saw. Oh, we're getting information from one of our spotters that Milan actually lost the rear of the car. So easy to do in these Audis under braking. As John tries to come back at Sean Wiltshire with no success.
Well, lap traffic has really precipitated a battle now between 9th and 10th as well. That's Matt Orr and Teemu Toika. They are running nose to tail as they got slowed down a little bit behind Arnazi just a moment ago. That allowed that battle to heat up, and now they're having to fight around Reed Miller. They're going to catch Reed in a pretty favorable location, able to get around him under braking, but then they get slowed up immediately by Franco Scurry. So now those guys are starting to catch the top half of the GTO field.
Scurry's going to stay on the racing line, let him slip to the inside. Scurry's also chasing Hristo Ublev as well, don't forget. So he doesn't want to give up too much time to these guys as we jump over to 10th in the GTOs. Milan Arnozzi currently leading Andrea Albertinelli. Ooh, look at the battle behind him, though. That's Laughter and Wiltshire trying to slice through. That's John Keefe in there, still chasing Wiltshire. Just saw Sean come off of the Lotus 49 at Talladega, of all places, believe it or not. Led quite a few laps over there.
Now, of course, I haven't seen it. I told you already I want to see it, but tell people at home, was it a great race? Was it a crazy race? So they can go back and watch it after this.
It was a fun race, I will put it that way.
All right.
It's worth watching. Oh, and John's got a great run on Sean. Looks like he's not going to have enough of one to make a move down into the Turleman chicane. Up ahead of them, Ben Laughter gets plugged up by Franco Scurry and Hristo Ublev. Now they're all going to try and wind their way around, but I don't know if all three cars will get by the hairpin. Ooh, this is going to be messy.
Oh, Ben Laughter gets loose.
Not only costs himself 2 positions, but look at the checkup he caused for Ublev, who now has Franco Scurry all over the back of him, trying to make a move, but a good defense from Ublev holds him off. The excitement comes very quickly, and just as quickly it disappears before you're going to get another taste of it without much time. We're already down to 25 minutes left to go, nearly halfway through this race. Up in 9th place in the prototypes, Matt Orr and Teemu Toika. We were watching them fighting a little bit ago. Orr still leading the way. Toika has not been able to overtake him. This has been a bad race for Toika, if we're honest. Starting at 6th, he's now running in 10th.
Yeah, I think he kind of, on that front straightaways stumble right there that we saw right at the beginning of the race, I think he kind of got slowed up a little bit, and that cost him a few positions, and just hasn't been able to make any of it up. But yeah, you're right. It is very uncharacteristic of Teemu here so far. It almost gets in the back of Matt Orr. I don't think you could have gotten much closer than that.
That was Jamie Hall, the GTO car that we saw. That Matt Orr just realized at the last second, I probably shouldn't dive this in there. His checkup caused Teemu to have to try not to get in the back of Orr as they slide their way through Ix. And that car, that GTO of Hall, is going to split them apart yet again. And poor Teemu has to work to get right back up to the rear.
You know, in looking at it, I'm actually surprised that Teemu didn't even lose any more time than what he did there. But still, I mean, he went from being right on the back bumper or back wing of Matt Orr, now going back, I believe that's about a second, maybe a second and a half there.
Yep, still chasing him around as you watch them work down the straight towards Kleina. Let's stay on this battle, but just a heads up, it's still Gerber leading in the GTPs, and it is Willy Rolla leading in the GTOs.
At some point, Ove Trengereed ended up on pit road, and he has a lot of front end damage. I'm trying to find out what happened. I think it was only about a lap ago.
Well, while he's looking towards that to see if we can figure out what happened, Toika has now caught Matt Orr, and he's held up coming off the exit of Turleman. That was Willy Rolla, our leader in the GTOs.
Okay. So coming out of Turleman, There was a GTO that had spun. It was Sean Wiltshire that had spun. He put it into the tires, and as he tried to re-enter the track, almost caught Ove, had to take evasive action, lost it, nosed it into the wall. I think Ove's day is done.
Oh. Well, it looks like his good luck isn't always going to be there, unfortunately, for Ove. So while Matt Orr continues to lead ahead of Toika, these two battling has now allowed Suarez to start to gain on them.
And Joe, I've lost it in my replay here because of trying to find that other incident earlier on. But I'm seeing R2 Iamaki in second position with a lot of damage on his car.
Let's see if we can get our spotter to look into that. The left front there, you see it on the cameras.
Okay, so and on there it looks fine. Okay, so it must just be on my end. I apologize for that. Sometimes that happens, but it scared me a little bit there.
He's still got some there, so he made contact with something. It could be actually the curbs themselves.
That was my first thought, but on my screen, I'll tell you, it's not some damage. it's like your car's destroyed. Go home. But thankfully, it's not like that. R2's still solidly in second, having himself a good day. You know, right now running about almost 6 seconds behind Fabian Gerber, your leader. But so I bet he's glad my screen is wrong for sure.
Let's jump back to Matt Orr and Teemu Toika, because that battle's still very, very close. In fact, I think it's the closest we've got here in the GTPs. Every time I take a glance over, he is just riding right behind the gearbox. They got some lap traffic. Oh, yeah, this is going to be very costly for Orr. Look at how much time that gains for Teemu Toika in a critical portion of the circuit, because if he can withstand the wake through that corner, oh, and it just costs him enough to keep him at hand's length. Through the Kleine chicane they go. They get a second bite. Oh, and this is a very good exit for Toika. But it's a short straight down to the braking for Turleman. Clatters over those curbs. Sure, he's not afraid to get aggressive. He's got a chance down here into the hairpin. A defensive move from Matt Orr. Could we see an over-under potentially? You got to be careful on the power with the turbo lag of these cars. No change in position. Empty Box is going to stay in ninth.
Now, as much as I like Matt's channel, I did have to remind myself, no, that's Empty Box.
Oh, here we go. This is a great exit out of the Kleine chicane, and it's the traffic that costs him the position. Braking to make sure he doesn't get into the Audi. Teemu boxes him in appropriately and takes away ninth. So, next on his list is going to be Clayton McLeod, but it's a whole almost 3 seconds up for Toika to move up there. Oh, and look at this. Is Orr's still slow because Suarez took a peek on him down into Kleine. Not close enough to make that attack work, though. 20 minutes left to go here. We're hitting the halfway mark now. We've been watching these GTP cars for a while. Let's see if there's anything over in the GTOs. Yeah. Ublev and Arnozi very close.
And right now, Fabian Gerber just had to split Hresto Ublev and Milan Arnauzi, and that was very exciting through turn one there.
Certainly hold your breath for the leader. Let's take some risky moves. Let's take another look at that one, because we just came in as that was happening. What if we could get an onboard of Fabian?
See, I don't want just an onboard. I want to read out of what he was thinking at that very moment. We realized, I'm going to have to split these guys.
We couldn't show that on air, I don't think, if we got that reading. But nice job, anyway.
Yeah, that was a very nice job by all involved there, because there was no other option there. He had to split them, and everybody was able to get through it. As he's having to get around Rob Olenek right now, and able to get around him, but that got a little tight there, slowed up on a corner exit. But he's got such a large lead right now, I don't think that's going to matter too much to him.
Let's go back to 7th because that battle that he split has not lifted. Arnozi still trying to keep Ublev behind him as they come down to the X chicane. It's go ahead.
And they're going to have a whole mess of fighting GTOs getting ready to come through. In fact, go back just a few more spots to Andrea Abernelli and then Reed Miller. They've got the fighting GTOs at Anti Lepisto and Michael Houghton right behind them. So battles all over the place right now.
There we saw the car of Mark Pickford slicing through. Remember, Mark started this race on the front row. He's still in 3rd, so he's holding his own. I'd say he's getting a handle on this Nissan, having raced the Lotus 79 for so long. Boy, I tell you what. Oh, wait. No, Houghton and... Oh, that is a battle for position between Houghton and Lepisto that slid through there. Thought maybe that was a lapped car. No, those two are fighting for 4th, just outside the podium.
Ooh, and Franco Scurry comes down the track right in front of Michael Houghton just a second ago, and thankfully they were able to get by with contact, but that split up that Anti-Lepisto-Houghton battle here just a little bit.
Yes, it's allowing Lepisto to slip away. He's going to put another car between them. That's Olenek. Wow, decisive moves there from Lepisto. This is what I've noticed really seems to make the difference in this series, Adam, is just the knowledge of how to read the traffic and when to take risks.
Yeah, and then Fabian Gerber right now, as you saw just a moment ago, excelling at that. But some of these guys really having to fight through that too. But, you know, I will say that despite that one incident that we saw earlier on, thankfully most of these, the two separate classes have been able to stay off each other going through the chicanes. Now, when we get a little bit closer to the end of this race, I mean, we've only got about 16 minutes or so here left. That could change, though, as things start to tighten up. We still have a lot of battles on track.
Watching 8th place down in the GTOs. Ublev has dropped off the back of Arnozi, and now Andrea Albertinelli is now chasing him down. They're going to get caught by Tapani Lindaluoto, our 6th place GTP. He gets 1. He's going to have to be very brave to get the other, and he is. Looks like a little bit of backing off by Ublev, but that cost him as Andrea now is all over the back of him. He gets a much better launch. They're going to go side by side up and over the crest and through Buta. Looks like Ublev a little bit braver on the brakes. Oh, maybe too brave. He gets a punch in the back from Albertinelli. Things getting a little bit rough out there. In fact, looks like Albertinelli maybe missed a shift heading his way down to the Boulder hairpin, and now Reed Miller rocks up to the back of his Audi.
As this race goes along, start to see more and more cars with front end damage out there. Also, Joe, Ben Laughter has now lost his front end, and I'm pretty sure that's a real losing his front end this time around, as he had a curb strike just a moment ago.
Yep, yeah, I'd say their broadcast cameras confirm that. Ben Laughter is going to be running. How much slower did you say it was without that nose?
Oh, I found out it was about 5 seconds difference.
Oh, and he still has 15 minutes left in this race. I'm almost wondering if it's worth him coming in and getting a new front clip. Meanwhile, Scurry and Arnozi. Arnozi's been in a lot of action today, trying to move his way forward. He's currently in 7th, looking to take away 6, and he started this race. Well, I can't see what within class. It was 27th overall. Oh, Scurry getting a punch up the back, and he runs into Toika.
Big contact.
We get a replay of that one. Poor Toika was the innocent victim in that one. Or of course, I'd also say that Scurry was too, because that was Matt Orr that comes up behind him. You're going to see, this is Toika. He's a little bit in front of this incident. This all started with Matt Orr trying to get his car over to the racing line, got into the back of Scurry. Scurry gets into the back of Toika. Oh. Timo's probably wondering, what in the world was that?
Yeah,
Toika just got into Suarez. I think there was contact between those two just as we came back. It was coming out of the X chicane just before the front stretch.
And by the way, Matt Orr coming down pit lane after that contact, so obviously he has some damage he's not happy with.
All right, so let's stay on this afterwards because they made contact for a second time. But watch this, it's going to be in the second corner. This is Sterdenwacht out of Erst. Look, he's flashing his lights. I wonder, I never like to say things are intentional. We do not know if this is the case, but here he comes up on him. They're going to go 3 wide. What happens here? Ooh, and he hits the back of him again. Wow. I don't think that Suarez is going to be sending any Christmas cards to Toyka. So right now, Toyka is still behind in 10th place. Suarez is past him in 9th now.
And a little bit of contact as well. Oh, more contact! This time, Martin Krigerak and Andrea Albernelli getting into it. Some multi-class contact. Albernelli was just into the back of Hristo Ublev not more than 2 corners before that.
Yeah, looked like some wheel spin maybe for Krejcik. Oh, no, maybe it was ghost contact there. That car just suddenly spun around in a way that didn't quite look natural. As we come back live. So, again, as a lot of action has been happening, your top 3 over in the GTPs are still Gerber in first, Iamaki second, Pickford in third. What's the podium looking like down in the GTOs?
Yeah, very calm up at the front 3 of these guys. Villerua coming home or it's not coming home yet. Oh, it's still a little way to go home. In first position, Nicholas McConas in second, Jamie Hall in third position. So that's your top 3 over here.
Working as we watch Mukanos down there in second.
Looking at Luis Emerton really diving it in there, going through Jackie Ickbach to get around both Nicholas McConas and Cedric Boyle. Trying to go for a twofer there and kind of jam them up a little bit, but they get away clean.
Yeah, Boyle was a lapped car, so that wasn't for position between himself and Mukanos. Mukanos, though, it's going to take a drastic development for him to catch Ruola at this point because it's 10-second gap there. Yeah,
big gaps. As long as they can stay clean, I think your front 3 in the Audis are going to be pretty well safe.
Despite all this action, we don't have a high attrition rate. Matt Orr is in the pits. Ove Trangerade is out of the race, and Tobias Gerber is gone. Everybody else is still out there running.
Some of those battles that we've been watching here the last little bit are starting to break up just a touch, but one that is not is looking at Hristo Ublev, Reed Miller, and Andrea Albernelli is starting to heat back up as well. Those 3 have been around each other pretty much this entire race here so far, and it looks like Reed is trying to find a way around Hristo right now.
Looking to the inside, down to the Kleine chicane, gets back in line. He doesn't want to leave himself vulnerable to Albertinelli. And don't forget, behind them, that's Hideki Koivisto. So a 4-car train all for position.
And I was thinking that I think Hristo is slowing this group up right now, and that's allowing Hideki to get onto the back there of Andrea. And, you got to think, too, also in this battle, that Andrea has been involved in a few incidents here the last couple of laps. So, might need some time for that heart rate to come down a little bit too, so be a little bit careful.
My credit goes to Ublev. He's been holding back a number of cars all race long, and it doesn't seem like anybody's able to shake him.
Yeah, he's very solid race.
Koivisto, we were on board with Koivisto and got all kinds of loose. Was he helped with that?
No, I think the back end just came out. But he got a little bit of dirt, and he overcorrected and slid that back into the wall. But you know what? That was actually a great piece of driving. Yeah, he got loose and everything else on the dirt. Used the wall assist to straighten him back out, but he's able to get away and continue on with very minimal damage out of that.
Look at this. That is not the rallycross version of this car, Hideki. I know you're from Finland. Oh, and we have a car off. Reed Miller.
That battle that just exploded. Andrea Albernelli is involved. Haristo's involved. Reed Miller's involved. That happened just
that was a
short
wreck.
time ago. Yeah, that's
It
what
was into
happened.
the first
All three of those
corner.
cars.
Maybe about 40 seconds ago. Let's see if we got it on replay. Just a little bit of contact between Miller and Ublev. We're going to try and... Here it is. Right here is where it happens, out of the first corner exit. And as Bill likes to say, after, it's just an octopus putting on socks.
Soupism still makes its way into today's broadcast.
Always. So we come back live. Once again, Reed Miller still having some issues there. It started a little messy, then it got a little better, and now it's messy all over again. So the opening stages and closing stages need a little work in this series. Ublev still running in ninth despite the issues. Ooh, Pondev had it off. We don't need to go to it, but just out of the Ix chicane, he returns to the track.
Battle for fourth getting ready to shape up here in the alleys. Rob Olnek is really catching Riley Thompson. Riley Thompson must have had an incident that last lap, and his engine just blew.
Oh, no.
It's like I was noticing his front end had heavily damaged, and that's why he was getting caught, and on that straightaway, it let go on him.
And here we've been following Riley with the incredible performances he came in here with and lacked practice and didn't get them. And every single race, it seems like he's starting to come back, and then something happens to him. Just has the worst of luck as we switch from Arnozzi now to Ublev.
Yeah, I was thinking, even despite that incident a few laps ago, that battle, they found each other again. Ublev and Miller going back at it once more. And behind them, Andrea catching back up and getting ready to get back involved here.
So as we watch, these two have been battling much of the race, have another go at one another. Ooh, bit of a slide coming out of the corner from Ublev, but gets it going, finds the grip with that four-wheel drive. You can see just in the distance behind them, that is Albertinelli. Along with Miller, who's the one chasing him. Ooh, Lepisto in a side-by-side battle right now with Mark Pickford. This is for a podium spot. Pickford's held this position all race long, but no more, because Lepisto with a brilliant move around the outside. Oh, but he gets held up by traffic, and now Mark gets held up too. That's Houghton as well, who has nowhere to go. That was the GTO of Thomas Delmuth.
They got Arnozzi right there as well, too, slowing him up on corner exit coming out of Klein.
Lepisto is trying to keep Pickford back for just a few more laps now that he's got the pass done. Game of cat and mouse between these two at the moment, and Houghton ready to pick up the pieces if the milk spills. Coming out of the Boulder chicane, or Boulder hairpin, excuse me. Cedric Poyle and Rob Olenek are ahead of them. These two are not battling. Shouldn't really hold them up too much, but can Lepisto get both? He gets one, but Pickford sneaks his nose in there so they can hold on tact with him. Down to 5 minutes left to go. Houghton sneaks through around Olenek just to try and keep touch.
And just to update that other battle we've been watching, we don't need to go to it, between Haristo Ublev and Reed Miller. Reed Miller, big hop on the curbs, launched the rear end in the air, and he's in the pits, and his day might be done. So that battle finally subsides, but due to unfortunate circumstances.
Yep, been a bit of a disappointing day for Reed after he looked like he could get a good finish. Lepisto now with this clear track is pulling away from Pickford a little bit. But how much more clear track does he have?
Yeah, I want to point out, too, though, that group has actually been catching second place Imake here the last couple laps as well. That gap is only, I think, less than 4 seconds now. So we could see, second place get in the mix here before too long as well. I think the question is going to become, do they have enough time? And right now, I'm thinking they might not. It's still enough of a gap where R2 might be safe as long as he can keep the car straight.
Let's give a glance at Villy Rolla, because we really haven't shown him all that much. That number 7 has been leading pretty much this whole race.
He has. I mean, he has an 11-second lead right now over top of Muconis. And, you know, I think on a day like today where we've talked about just about everybody in the field for one reason or another, I think Billy's okay with us being quiet about him, because that means he hasn't been involved in any action. He's been able to have a very safe first-place run here so far and just has to bring the car home.
Well, and last week, if I'm not mistaken, if my notes are right, he had a miserable day at Suzuka, especially with getting bumped around. I'm sure he'd like to cruise to a victory pretty easily. Going back to that battle in the GTP cars, Lepisto now stretches out to nearly a second over Pickford, but Houghton much closer to Pickford, trying to demote him. They are still 3 seconds up to Iamaki. As we watch this battle, I have to wonder, we saw the slightest bit of damage on Iamaki. That could still be slowing him up and what's causing these drivers to catch on him. There you can see him up at the top of the screen in some of the shots. Just glances here and there, so they can probably see him ahead of them in their windscreen. Now down to 2 laps to go.
Yeah, those guys shaved off almost another 2 seconds off of R2's lead that last time by. Now they got to fight through some of the same lap traffic, but they're catching him in more of a favorable spot. So especially Lepisto right there really is able to get around. That was the car there of Nicholas Muconis.
Yeah. And I said it before, but just decisive moves from the Finn, and it's helping him gain hand over fist. Is now 2.6 up to Iamaki as we ride on the 007 cam of Lepisto. Iamaki actually has the traffic within his own class, James King, to try to get around right now. The Busch Feint car not giving away readily. Wonder if that could play a part in Lepisto starting to gain on him. It'll be Finn versus Finn. White flag is out for Fabian Gerber as we continue to watch the battle for the podium. Second and third have not been decided by any stretch of the imagination. On board with Lepisto now, currently sitting in the final podium position. Lepisto with a half-second lead over Pickford, down to 2 seconds up to Iamaki. I'm thinking this is still too little, too late for him to try to get himself up to second place.
Ooh, Lepisto breaks loose just a touch, trying to get around your Audi leader, and that's going to allow Mark Pickford to really get a run on him. Is he going to be able to do anything when he tries to go for the up and under? But then Michael Houghton tries to get involved in it as well, and that actually cost Mark Pickford some time. Lepisto might be able to get a good, clean run here. Second, but he blocks up those rear brakes again. All that time disappears. Those 3 get jammed right back up. Third through 5th right now. Can't throw a slice of paper between them.
And unfortunately, we've got to step away from them because Fabian Gerber is coming up to the final chicane. Fabian Gerber is going to be your winner in the GTP class. A fantastic drive for Fabian. And Roll is going to follow him home very quickly here.
Yeah, Rolla's going to be behind the battle here for 3rd through 5th, and it looks like Lepisto is able to get 3rd, holding off Mark Pickford and Michael Houghton, and then coming back behind them, your Audi winner, Billy Ruola, able to bring that thing home, flag to flag.
10-second gap in both of the classes. GTO's Nick Muconis just coming across ahead of Jamie Hall. Barely a 10th behind him at the line. That's how tight it was for those two. So very similar stories, Adam, as we watch McLeod trying to hold off Toyka to the line. He's going to be successful there. Both podiums coming down to the wire. Ooh, Olenik's in a battle with Arnozzi right now, though. Look at this, side-by-side door banging. That's Olenek in the red machine. Is he going to let him have it, or is that a missed shift? Hard to see, but our nosy comes out ahead. He finishes in the 4th position in the GTOs. We have anybody else still finishing this race at this point? Cars streaming across the line. I don't see any other battles taking place. So that is going to be it here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, but stick around because on screen you're going to see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. At Zolder, we just watched round 2 in the iRacing Kamel GT series here on the Global Sim Racing channel and iRacing Live. And the end, it looks like it was a bit of a stomp for both classes. Fabian Gerber, 10 seconds ahead at the line over Ardo Iamaki, who led his fellow Finn home, Antti Lepisto, to complete the podium. Mark Pickford tried to hold them off. He started in the front row. Still, I consider this a win for Mark. He did a fantastic race out there, even though he was just off the podium for a 4th place finish. Michael Houghton tried to run him down at the end. He finished 5th. Tapani Lindaluoto, was 6th with Luis Emerton Compton, coming home in 7th. Clayton McLeod took an 8th place. He climbed up there from 14th on the grid. This is a great run for the number 20 car. Timu Toika had the reverse problem. He went down from 6th to 9th today, ran into a little trouble, and then also had a little stuff out of his hands that caused those issues. Pablo Suarez finished in 10th with John Keefe in 11th. Martin Krejcik finished in 12th. Ben Lafter was behind them in P13. Then you've got Sean Wiltshire having a 14th place finish. Disappointing day for him. David Miller finished in 15th with James King in 16th, and Johnny Bell rounds out our GTP class that finished today in the 17th spot.
Yeah, in those Audis here today, Ruala bringing it home, the win. Another dominating performance there. Of course, he has had a good over 10-second lead over top of Nicholas McConas in second position, who had to hold off Jamie Hall at the line, but he was able to get the job done, and that brings home second and third in class. Milan Arnazi coming home in fourth. Fifth went to Rob Olnick. Franco Siri in fifth. Hideki Covisto brought it home today, 24th overall, sixth in class. Hristo Ublev, Andrea Albernelli, those guys were involved in a battle pretty much the entire race here today. Iskren Pondev, Brian Shanahan, Cedric Poyle, and Thomas Delmuth round out your top 30. And we go down to Reed Miller. Reed Miller was involved in that battle there with the likes of Hideki, Hristo, Andrea, but unfortunately found trouble late in the race. Riley Thompson, Mador, Ove Trengerid, and Tobias Gerber all found trouble as the race went along.
Yeah, sad to see Tobias with his speed finish dead end on the field. By the way, if you enjoyed this racing, you can find more of it here on this channel on the iRacing Esports Network. If you can, definitely go over to that big red button that says subscribe and click it, and you won't miss a moment here on the iRacing Esports Network, where you can find all the World Championship Series, Oval, Road, Road, and Dirt Oval. So with that, let's take our first winner in. That is Fabian Gerber. It seems like he has had what is a relatively quiet race compared to others, at least from our perspective. I'm sure it wasn't that way in the cockpit. Fabian, we saw at least one moment where you had to split a few Audis to try and sneak your way through.
Hello. Yes, I think I know the situation you mean. That was hairy, but I thought they would see me and should be okay. And it was okay, but it could have a different ending. That's true.
Now, one thing that I know Adam found as he was testing for this race in the Nissan, you can't see your front clip. So if you clatter over those big curbs in the chicanes, you can't always know that you're missing it until you check your lap times. Were you at all worried about getting damage by touching those curbs?
I generally try to avoid the curbs in this car. It's curbs are not the Nissan's friends. It's not good.
Yeah, I can understand why. Now, this is a very short lap compared to some tracks that you guys go to. How was the traffic out there for you? Did you have to deal with quite a bit of it, or was it pretty smooth sailing?
Yes, there was a lot, but it was much better than I expected. I expected it to be even more difficult than in Donington, for example. But it was actually turned out to be okay. Just a couple of situations, but nothing too hairy, except that one situation we talked about.
Yeah. Now, the other thing before we let you go, I want to talk to you about the guy joining you on the front row, Mark Pickford. Even though he didn't finish right behind you, he seems to be finding speed very quickly in this Nissan. Is he one you're keeping your eye on?
Always, because I know him from the Lotus times. Make sure to have a chat with him. He's a gentleman. He's a really nice guy. And yes, I have an eye on him, but I have an eye on everyone who's quick. The Finns, Michael Pickford, my brother, Justin, Albrecht. Yes, there are a couple of people I have my eye on.
You must have a lot of eyes then. Congratulations on what I would consider a dominant win today. 9.5 seconds at the line. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
Fabian Gerber, our winner here in the GTPs. And then I believe up next we have second place in the GTOs. Adam is going to be talking with Nick Bucanos.
Yeah, Nick. Hey, great run here for today, coming home second in class, but it got a little hairy out there sometimes in lap traffic when those Nissans were having to cut through. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was a little crazy and hectic, but I think for the most part, people did a pretty good job of like telegraphing which way they're going to go. And I just figured when the pack was coming through, I needed to move over a little bit. It worked out in the end.
Now, right at the end there, you got involved, it seemed like in a pretty tight battle with Jamie Hall, and you're able to hold him off. Were you getting nervous there the last few laps?
Oh, definitely. I felt kind of strong today. Usually I'm a little bit further back in the pack, but I was missing shifts throughout the day, and that's what was really hurting me. I did it on the second to last lap, and then Jamie was breathing down my neck immediately.
Okay, I'm going to get out of this way because the boss is asking me to ask this to you, but since you run in the planner's car, do you work for Peanuts?
I do not, no.
Okay. Well, serious question now, though. So we're coming here to Zolder, very tight track, lots of chicanes and everything else, but also small track. We're talking lap times, minute 20, minute 15, for the real fast Nissans and stuff. And we go to another short track next time out. I believe you guys are going to Lime Rock next week. So for Lime Rock, I mean, a little bit more sweeping, a little bit more, on the throttle, but at the same time, shorter track. You're going to be tracking that. You're going to be tracking Lime Rock with pretty much the same strategies that came in here today.
Yeah, I mean, I like the short, tight tracks, but when we're getting up to like 35, 40 cars, it gets a little hectic. So I like it. It's fun. But on the other hand, you got to be careful, and you never know what can happen as soon as the Nissans start coming through.
All right. Well, hey, Nick, good run here for today, and hopefully we'll talk to you again next week.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Nick McConis there, and I believe Stefan. We actually have a guy that's been helping us out here, Stefan Schlacker, and he is going to catch up, I believe, with Mark Pickford.
Yes, I'm standing here in the pit lane besides Mark Pickford. Mark, you surprisingly somehow managed to keep your car completely clean. How did you manage to save your kittens in this mayhem that is Zolder?
Looks like we're trying to see if we can get Mark mic'd up here. He's having a little trouble getting the lav working. Just give him a couple seconds to fiddle with that and make sure he's got the on button going there as he works the problems out of it. Oh, I see a little bit of flashing.
I think we got him.
Getting
Hello,
flashing.
can you hear me?
There he is. All right, go ahead, Steph.
Mark, once again, the question. You were able to keep your kittens clean. How did you how were you able to save your car in this mayhem that is Zolder?
It's a complete mystery, especially with those curbs.
Yeah, they can really catch you out. So, dropping from second to fourth in the race, still a great result. How did it feel for you?
Yeah, I felt quite comfortable here in the car. I lost second place, dropped to third, 9 the first couple of corners. Couldn't really catch up to Ante after that. But no, I think I had the pace over Mr. Lepisto, but I lost it in the traffic on, what was it, the lap before last. So a bit gutted to lose a podium.
Yeah, that's just traffic or multi-class in general right there. But next up, we are going to Lamrock Park. Are you excited about that race?
I am actually. We took the Lotus there. I think we had 42 cars at Lime Rock in the Lotus 79, and that was a bit hectic. And I'm expecting this to be even more hectic.
That's for sure. Well, Mark, at the end of this interview, do you have anyone you want to say hello to?
Not really, just everybody in the series. They're really great guys to race with. So thanks, everyone.
All right, everyone. That was Mark Pickford finishing fourth in the GTP class. We have now Joe catching up with Rob Olenek.
Hey, guys.
Yep, and Rob had quite a battle right down at the end with Milan Arnozzi. We saw the door banging through the X chicane, and then we couldn't tell if you lifted or missed a shift on the end. Was that sportsmanship, or did you just catch you out?
I didn't have any power. After I cut the first chicane early in the race before the Nissans caught us the first time, so my car was stuttering under throttle through third through fifth gear. So I was just trying to maintain a gap because I could keep the gap easily on like in the corners and the tight sections, but the guys were catching me under all the straights. So when he got close, I kind of knew I wasn't going to get it, but I tried to fight for it at least in the end.
Yeah, we saw that incident as well that you mentioned through the Kleine chicane where you caught the curb. It looked like both rear tires were up in the air on you.
Oh yeah, I was definitely pointing at the ground. I mean, that chicane is so tough. Like I go through sometimes you can just hit it every time, and then the whole beginning of the race, I just didn't have the rhythm of that thing down, and I just slightly hit the curb on the left, and it shot me to the right, and then it just sends you when you hit those things.
So
it's a tough track.
Oh, very tough. Yeah. We talked a little bit about the next one coming up being Lime Rock Park. This one on its own is very difficult. I know you guys tend to kind of rotate the calendar a bit. Do you want to see this one back? It seems like it's very tough to bring this combination to.
It's a tough call. I like it. I like the shorter, tough tracks like this. I think like a once a year, kind of how we already have it set in the schedule, is probably good for a track like this. Not all the time, though.
That sounds about fair to me. All right. Well, again, commiserations for finishing a little bit down the order. It's a 5th place for you today, and can't wait to see you at the madness that is Lime Rock.
Yeah, I can't wait for it. See you guys next week.
It's Rob Olenek here today in the GTO class. We're going to close up, of course. I want to give some thank yous, a big thank you to the Kamel GT community for having us back to broadcast once again. And of course, to iRacing for bringing this series onto the iRacing Esports Network. We love getting to broadcast some of our exciting series here on GSRC. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, Dougie, and of course also to Stefan, who was our spotter today and helped us with the interviews. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Ram. As we mentioned, if you go over to our YouTube page over on the Global Sim Racing Channel, you hit our big red subscribe button. You won't miss a moment with us as well, but please do subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network to get all the action here. The next race, we said, we're heading to LRP, Lime Rock Park. That'll be Saturday, September 29th at 1 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.